Michael is halfway through the song when the night fractures. The spotlight is tight on him, the band locked in, thousands of voices riding the chorus, and then a body vaults the pit rail and hits the stage at a run. Security moves, but they are a fraction too late, arms reaching through light and noise as the crowd screams in a single panicked wave. For a split second, the music threatens to collapse. Michael does not bolt. He pivots, keeps the smile that belongs to the show, and lifts one gloved hand, palm out, as if stopping an orchestra mid-swell. The band thins the sound instead of killing it, a held breath of rhythm pulsing under fear. Cameras wobble, people surge backward in their seats. The runner is close enough now that Michael can see the eyes, wide and fixed. Not the eyes of someone who got lost, but of someone who came for this. He plants his feet anyway. That stillness is not bravado. It is a choice, made in the smallest possible window, to keep the room from tearing itself apart. To understand why he risks it, you have to rewind a week, to the meetings that happen long before the lights go down. This tour runs on precision. Every mark is measured. Every exit is planned. His security chief has learned to listen for patterns that do not sound like threats until it is too late. Letters that arrive without return addresses. Calls that name songs before the set list leaks. A man removed at another show for pushing toward the stairs, smiling while he was escorted out. The same handwriting shows up again, calmer this time, promising a moment and asking for nothing else. They tighten the obvious points. More guards at the wings, a blocked stairwell, a longer buffer at the pit. It feels like enough. It is never enough. The warning that matters slips in sideways, through a detail no one wants to overreact to. A floor ticket printed under a new name. Front row. Paid in cash. Back in the present, the runner's shoes slap against the stage, the distance shrinking with every step. Michael's hand is still raised, the band still breathing. The room is waiting to see which version of this night it will become, and the man in the spotlight is about to decide whether chaos gets what it came for. This is the era when Michael's concerts feel like controlled hurricanes, beautiful and overwhelming by design. Every second is mapped, every step rehearsed, every cue drilled until muscle memory takes over. The audience sees spontaneity. Backstage, it is precision layered on precision, including security trained to read the thin line where devotion curdles into fixation. Most nights, that vigilance fades into the background hum of touring life. Then, days before this show, a letter arrives at the venue with no return address, addressed simply to Michael. It is not a rant. That is what makes it unsettling. The handwriting is neat, almost careful, and the message is short. It promises a moment on stage, nothing violent, nothing explicit, and then names a song that has not been publicly confirmed on the set list. The head of security does not show it to Michael right away. He studies the ink, the spacing, the pressure of the pen. He has seen it before. Months earlier, at another arena, a fan with the same handwriting had pushed toward a stairwell during a ballad, smiling even as guards pulled him back. He had been removed quietly and banned just as quietly. The response is measured. Extra guards are added to the wings. A stairwell near the pit is blocked and reassigned. The pit itself is tightened by a few feet, barely noticeable to the crowd, but enough to create distance. The idea is not to escalate, not to signal fear, just to close the obvious doors and let the show breathe. For a moment, it feels handled. Obsession thrives on reaction, and they refuse to give it one. Then Will Call prints the tickets. A floor pass, paid in cash, issued under a new name, Front Row. The system flags it only because it is late and specific, requested by seat number, not section. The security chief holds the paper longer than necessary, the way people do when they already know what it means, but want one more reason to doubt themselves. A new name does not erase old intent. It sharpens it. They consider pulling the ticket. They consider moving the seat. They consider canceling the song mentioned in the letter. Each option carries its own cost, its own ripple. In the end, they choose to watch and wait, eyes on the pit, hands ready at the rail. Somewhere in the building, the man who wrote the letter takes his seat, close enough to see the sweat on Michael's face when the lights come up, close enough to believe the promise is still intact. The next warning does not come through security or management. It comes through a radio station. Late that afternoon, as the arena hums with load-in noise, the promoter's phone rings and a familiar local host sounds shaken. A man had called into the show between songs, calm as if ordering dinner, and said he would touch Michael tonight. Not hurt him, not threaten him. Touch him. He described the jacket he would be wearing and where he would be standing, precise enough to sound rehearsed, like he wanted the hunt to be part of the performance. The call sets off a quiet scramble. Police offer more presence, uniforms at the aisles and dogs at the doors, but the venue pushes back. Too visible, they say. Panic spreads faster than danger in a packed arena, and panic is its own kind of weapon. Instead, they adjust the invisible things. Radios are tested, hand signals reviewed, eyes assigned to the pit, and nothing else. The security chief brings the radio note to Michael's manager, who reads it twice and then once more, as if repetition might change the meaning. Backstage, the manager finds Michael warming up, loose and focused, the way he gets before a show. He lays it out without drama. The call, the jacket, the promise. He asks Michael to cut the number that brings him closest to the crowd, the moment fans wait for, the moment hands reach up and time slows. Michael listens, nods, asks a clarifying question, and then says, "No." Not loudly, not defiantly, just no. Changing the show would teach the wrong lesson, he says, and besides, the crowd came for that moment. He will not punish them for one man's obsession. The decision tightens the room. There is relief in certainty, even when it points straight at risk. As doors open and the arena fills, security scans jackets. Scanning becomes second nature, a metronome of vigilance. The house lights dim, and the scream rises, a sound that erases individual faces. For the first stretch, everything holds. The show moves like it always does, clean and controlled. Then a voice crackles in a sleeve. Jacket spotted. Aisle 12, moving fast. Guards converge, a practiced net closing, and for one breath it looks contained. Then the man slips sideways into the surge, swallowed by shadows as the lights drop to black for the next cue. The music hits, the crowd roars, and the jacket is gone. Showtime hits, and for a while, the arena almost forgets to be afraid. The lights bloom, the band locks in, and the first 20 minutes move with the practiced confidence of a machine that knows exactly what it is doing. Michael glides from mark to mark, voice steady, timing perfect. The crowd gives itself over to the illusion that this night will behave like all the others. Security keeps scanning, but nothing breaks the surface yet, and hope settles in just long enough to be dangerous. Then the signals begin to stack. A folded note skids across the stage near the monitors, stopping inches from Michael's foot. He doesn't look down. A guard hisses into his sleeve, eyes glued to the pit, his posture shifting from casual alertness to something tighter. A surge rolls forward without warning, bodies pressing the rail hard enough to make the camera platform shudder. It is not a riot. It is worse. It is coordinated excitement, the kind that can tip into chaos if it feels invited. Between songs, Michael buys time with a soft line to the crowd, a familiar phrase delivered with warmth and ease. The laughter that comes back is thinner than usual, threaded with nerves, and that thinness carries. It tells anyone listening that the room is paying attention, that the moment is live. Somewhere below the stage, a man hears that laugh and understands that his timing is perfect. Security adjusts again. Hands hover closer to belts, eyes narrow on the pit. The jacket is not visible, which means it is either gone or exactly where it needs to be. Michael keeps moving, the show breathing through the tension instead of choking on it. Every step is a choice now, every glance a calculation. The band shifts seamlessly into the next number, and the cue everyone has been waiting for edges closer. The set list turns, as it always does, to the risky song, the one that brings Michael to the lip of the stage, the one where hands reach up and distance collapses. Backstage, someone mutters that this is the point of no return. Out front, the crowd surges again, anticipation rolling like weather. Michael takes the first step toward the edge. Below him, a pit gate clicks open, clean and unmistakable, a small sound swallowed by the roar but heard by every trained ear in the building. The fan comes out of the pit like a released spring, clearing the last barrier with hands already reaching. Security lunges and misses, fingers grazing fabric as momentum carries the body forward. For a heartbeat, the distance between them collapses into a tangle of limbs and light. Michael does not recoil. He steps into it, turns with it, catches both wrists, and redirects the force the way dancers redirect gravity, using the rush instead of fighting it. There is no strike, no shove, no visible panic. The movement looks intentional because he makes it intentional. The music keeps breathing underneath, a pulse that refuses to die. Michael leans in close enough that only one person can hear him and whispers a single sentence, low and steady. Whatever it is, it lands. The fan's eyes flicker, anger losing its edge, confusion rushing in to replace it. Michael lifts one of the man's arms and presents it to the crowd like the end of a number, a bow that reframes the chaos as performance. The arena roars, not in fear now, but in release, the sound cracking something open in the man who rushed the stage. Shock turns to tears in front of 30,000 witnesses. The moment breaks its own spell. Security steps in cleanly this time, hands firm but measured, and guides the man away without dragging him or raising him like a trophy. The cameras stay wide. Michael waits until the pit clears, then nods once to the band. The song finds its footing again and surges forward, stronger for having survived the interruption. The crowd follows, breath by breath, understanding without being told that the show is not over and the rules still apply. Backstage afterward, police confirm what security already suspected. The rush was planned. The letter, the call, the ticket, the timing down to the second. Michael listens, absorbs it, and gives one instruction that travels faster than panic ever could. No spectacle. No perp walk. No announcement. No replay on the screens. Let the story end where it belongs, on the stage, under the lights, with control restored. The band keeps playing. The set continues. By the time the encore hits, the fear has burned off, leaving something cleaner behind. The audience does not cheer louder because they were scared. They cheer because they saw chaos meet composure and lose. When the lights finally come up, the room knows exactly who was in charge the entire time. By morning, the footage is everywhere, sliced into angles that tell different stories depending on where you stand. From one camera, it looks like a fight, a blur of arms and bodies colliding under hot lights. From another, it looks almost inviting, as if Michael had beckoned the man forward and folded him into the show. The truth lives between frames, but the internet does not wait for nuance. Clips loop without context, slowed down, sped up, circled in red. By breakfast, the moment has already been rewritten a dozen times. Phones start ringing, sponsors want assurances, the promoter wants options, talking about postponements and refunds in the careful language of risk. Security sketches new diagrams, higher barricades, more distance, fewer moments where Michael gets close enough to feel the crowd breathe. Each suggestion makes practical sense. Each one also builds a wall where there used to be a bridge. Michael listens to all of it, quiet, weighing the cost that does not show up on a balance sheet. A fortress keeps danger out, but it also keeps something else out, and he knows the difference. The chief of security returns mid-morning with a sealed evidence bag and a look that says, "This is not over." Inside is a folded note found on the man after he was removed, creased from being opened and closed too many times. It is written for after the rush, a second act planned in advance. It predicts the headlines, names the words that will be used, the myth that would be built around him once the cameras caught the moment. Fame by collision, immortality by proximity. Michael reads it once and hands it back without comment. There is no time to sit with it. Before the room can exhale, a courier arrives at the next venue on the route, asking for a signature. Another envelope, addressed simply to Michael. The same shaky block capitals, the same deliberate neatness. Different handwriting would have been easier. This feels like an echo, proof that the idea has already spread beyond one man. Someone saw the clip and learned the wrong lesson. Security tightens again, this time with urgency sharpened by understanding. This is not just about stopping a person. It is about stopping a story from recruiting its next author. Michael looks out the window at a city he has not yet entered, a crowd that has not yet gathered, and knows that what happens next will decide whether last night becomes an exception or an invitation. He closes the folder and says they keep the show. Because if chaos can turn itself into legend, then control has to be louder. The new envelope is not from the same man, but it proves the lesson has already spread. The handwriting is different, the phrasing less careful, yet the intent is familiar. Someone watched the clip and understood the wrong thing. They saw proximity, mistaken for power, and thought the fastest way into the story was through the stage. Michael reads the note without expression, then closes the file and does not let it grow any larger than it needs to be. He has learned something precise, and precision demands adjustment, not panic. The rules change quietly. More eyes in the pit, trained to watch patterns instead of faces. Stair access tightened in ways the audience never notices. Clearer hand signals to the band so a tempo can thin or swell on command. Security rehearses absorption instead of confrontation, containment instead of collision. The instruction that anchors everything is simple and repeated until it becomes reflex. Never escalate. Always absorb. The show remains the show. Michael does not announce changes, does not lecture the crowd, does not turn fear into a headline. He keeps walking to the edge when the music calls for it, keeps letting hands rise toward him, keeps trusting the space he has chosen to hold. What he takes away is not intimacy, but opportunity. There will be no empty seconds for someone else to claim, no silence that can be hijacked. The stage will always be louder than the impulse to interrupt it. He never tells anyone what he whispered on stage that night. Not the band, not the promoters, not the press. The silence around it hardens into something deliberate, and that becomes the point. Without the words, the moment cannot be copied, it cannot be rehearsed, it can only be remembered as a feeling, and feelings are harder to weaponize. Over time, the story simplifies, as stories always do. People argue about whether it was dangerous or brilliant, whether it was luck or nerve, whether anyone should ever try something like that again. Footage resurfaces on anniversaries. Commentators slow it down, freeze frames, draw circles where they think the truth lives. None of that lasts. What lasts is the rule. When chaos ran at him, he did not meet it with force or fear. He met it with form, and form held. The crowd learned it before they could name it. The would-be imitators learned it too, and moved on. The show went forward, intact and unmistakably his, and the legend settled into its final shape. Not a story about a rush, but about what happens when control refuses to give way.